Welcome to the Sarah Scoop Show. It's time to get the scoop with Sarah.
I'm Anna Gomez from Chicago. I'm a writer on the side. I've published a few books under a pen name Christine Bray, and this is my first book under my real name. My full-time job, I'm a CFO for a global ad agency. I have three kids. I'm a mom and a wife, and I moved here to the States from the Philippines about 25 years ago, maybe. I started writing a few years ago and have published 6 books. I've always loved to write when I was younger, but I never thought that I would be publishing books. And about in 2013, so what's that now? 8 years ago, I experienced the loss of my mom, and it was just very therapeutic for me to write about our story. And so I self published my first book, and then just built a following. There were a lot of women, a lot of people that kind of loved the book, that the story resonated with them. And it was also about the Filipino culture. So there was a lot of I guess there's a lot of buzz about that book. And so they asked me to write a second book. So I did write a second book, and a third and a fourth and a fifth. And a publisher picked me up after the third book. And I've been traditionally published ever since. So I didn't really think it would take off. So I'm still holding on and loving my real job. And this is something that I do, you know, not on the side necessarily because it's taken a lot of my time, but it's my passion. I love to write. So her name is Andy, and she suffers from exhaustion. And so the first thing is she finds herself in the hospital, running a bunch of tests and trying to find out, what's wrong with her physically. And then, it turns out that she was really working really hard and prioritizing her work over relationships, and has worked herself sick. So she gets an invitation from her best friend, Appy, to come visit Hawaii, take a break, kind of kind of get the job out of her mind and recover and recuperate. So she goes to Hawaii. And the thing is, she didn't know that her friend owned a coffee plantation. So she starts getting back into the business mode and wanting to save the coffee plantation because it was kind of in a dying industry and whatnot. So, and she meets a man named Warren, and together they kind of navigate through pains of the past and hang-ups and all that, and they find love. And it's called Moments Like This because Warren is from Oahu, and he takes her on these moments tours where he gives her a taste of what Hawaii looks like and the culture and the places that he loves, and they get to know each other through that. So it's a really sweet love story, and the backdrop is just the beautiful islands. And there are so many other sub characters that are obviously embedded and webbed into the story. So um, that's basically the story. We used to go there when I was younger, and we still go there with my family for vacations. But the great thing about Chris joining the partnership is he actually lived in Oahu, so it was great to have someone with that perspective. So in making it look like a travel log, like a travel book, we were able to put so much context into things that happen or things that you can see around Oahu because he actually lived there. So he wrote most of the Hawaii moments tour scenes just because he actually lived it. So, but aside from that, we did do a lot of research too. I mean, I never, I had to learn about coffee making and coffee plantations and the history of Hawaii. I wanted to bring the Filipino culture in it because obviously there were a lot of Filipinos that migrated to Hawaii during the times when the plantations, and also during the Spanish times. And so I wanted to kind of bring that culture in as well. So we were really a good team because he was doing a lot of the actual Hawaiian content, and I was doing, you know, more of the culture and whatnot. So we're always asked that, and what I can say is that you always write what you know. So, yeah, there are connections to the characters. The fact that she was a high-powered executive, working ungodly hours and just exerting so much effort. I mean, that's my life, kind of. And certain situations that happen that make you realize that you're just constantly gunning, and you need to slow down and prioritize everything else in your life. So those things are, and then Warren has a lot of elements of Chris as well, and my getting to know him. There's a lot of elements about him and how he feels and what he thinks. That's part of this too. So I mean, I think that's always the case, where you write what you know and you write what you experience, because that's how emotions come out on the page. If you've never experienced that, it's very hard to write. We did it. We did most of the book while we were quarantining last year, and he was filming Jurassic Park in London. And so he had like a 14-day quarantine, and then he had to stay in the room a lot and stay in. And I think we finished most of the book then. It was just 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks of intense, like just back and forth. I would write something and then he would volley it back with another chapter. So we would go back and forth. And we spend a lot of time together on Zoom, just talking out, hashing out ideas, getting to know each other, so that the voice is the same. The one thing that's come out of this book that's come out really well is that we have the same voice, and so when you read the book, we've forgotten who wrote what. It just melded together so well. Our words are the same. And so I think comes with a lot of work, trying to really like connect with the person that you're writing with. I mean, he was a complete stranger to me when we first started. So we've progressed a lot. It was a friend of mine that lives on the same street as him. His neighbor actually is a good friend, and we served on a board together. And so I just mentioned to that friend, his name is Javier, that I was looking to transform my books into script. And he said, "Oh, I have a neighbor named Kristoffer Polaha. He might be able to recommend something." And so, that's how it started. Chris and I got on the phone together, and after that call, we were writing a book together. We were writing 5 books together. He was very transparent about the process, and we talked about collaborating, and we made it happen like in a few days. We just connected really well. We had the same vision, I think. And I was already writing moments at that time, not very far, but I said I was writing a series in Hawaii, and he liked to collaborate, and you know he like jumped at the chance. So here we are. Yeah, and then when we first met, when we first got on Zoom, we were wearing the same shirt, which was funny. Yeah, first of all, the reason I'm doing this is because I do want to see them come to life. So that was my first thing, my main point in connecting with someone like Chris. So we are going to, he's got a production company. He's got the know-how of how to actually translate this into film. So I'm leaving that up to him. We are in conversations about, where we should be pitching the book. What Chris had advised, and what I complied with, was we should see how the book does. And obviously it's still #1 new release right now on Amazon, so it's doing really well. So because of that, he thought that we could now take it, um, and start pitching the series, as soon as we found out how book 1 was going to do. And actually we're almost done with the second book, so we're cranking. Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be Hallmark. We've decided, there's a little bit more of a nuance, that it's a little deeper, and it's, there's a little bit more of non-Hallmark content. It's clean contemporary, but it probably will be something that we want to pitch, as a movie or to Netflix. That's the direction that we're going. Obviously, I think Chris is gunning for the Warren role, and I think he'd be perfect for it. We wrote it for him, so I'd love for him to play Warren. For Andy, I'm not sure yet. We have to find someone who's half Filipino or has some Asian descent somehow, and I'm not really sure who yet. We have people in mind, but we went through a lot of names, but we're still working on that part, on the Andy part. A Hawaiian actress and Hawaiian sub characters, because a lot of it really, really delves into the culture.
Thank you for watching The Sarah Scoop Show. Head to sarahscoop.com for more.